As it may, I worked through it, and I found out by dealing with the people in the hospital, I learned a tremendous amount of how we mistreat each other, of how we don't listen to each other, of the things that we attempt to project on each other based on what our own personal experiences are or what our textbook training is. At that point in time, I think I was in there like 6 weeks. It took me 3 weeks to realize that they weren't going to listen to me anyway. So I started talking to them in the way that they wanted to hear. Now, psychotics can do that as well. Be that as it may. I got out, and the miracle cure, modern science has prevailed again. So I learned the hard way what the psychologist had told me initially, and that was, shh, don't talk to anybody. People don't have these kinds of things. They're going to think it's weird. Wait till you have, get older, because most people don't go through these things until their midlife crisis, so to speak, 40, 45 years old. Again, something that I heard but didn't pay attention to for whatever reason. There were several things that happened after that. I went to work as a meat cutter and ended up getting married and kind of withdrew from that whole world for a while. Something was missing in my life, though, and I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. So after a few years, I couldn't deny what I had going on inside of me any longer, so I started at least inquiring again and doing some readings. I've got to admit, for a number of years, I probably didn't spend much time at all with that type of material. I was busy raising a family, trying to do and be the right thing, be a good husband, a good father, and so on and so forth. And that took a lot of my time. We moved out here in 1981. I had, let me back up a little bit and explain something else about my move out here. Not too long after I had the white light experience, I was in process of reading a lot of different types of materials, and one of them being Carlos Castaneda's work. That prompted me to question whether I had a guide or an ally, what his name was, her name, how could I contact them, where were they from, so on and so forth. Again, in another meditation, one evening, out of nowhere, because I was not thinking about it, the name Zephyr and a picture of an Indian's face popped into my mind. And wow, cool, okay. The Indian's face looked ancient, was very weather-worn, very, I don't know what word humble, very powerful, very wise. The next few days went by, and I was, I think within the next week or something like that, I was listening to George Harrison's Living in the Material World. And during the middle of this, the voice that I've been familiar with picked up and to pick up a pen and paper and write. And I thought, well, okay, we'll check it out. So I picked up some paper and a pen. As soon as my hand touched the paper, started writing. And after I finished, I had 3 pages. I looked at it. I couldn't read it. I didn't even know what it looked like. A bunch of scribbles to me. As I started comparing it, looking into other texts and trying to find the reading, the closest thing that I could find that it looked like was Sanskrit. I took it around to a bunch of the professors around Ball State, and everyone that I showed said, yeah, bullshit to me. So I just stuck it away, kept it on file. But I did inquire of a friend of mine that could do automatic writing. And he and I had several discussions about it. And I thought, well, hey, if this is something like that, maybe I can find out. At least I could possibly find out more about Zephyr. So we got together that weekend, and in asking Zephyr to come through him, he ended up writing the same thing. Well, I hadn't showed him any of the writing that I had at all. One thing that I have sought to maintain throughout my whole process, and I'm sure I've probably been negligent from time to time, is I try to keep information that I've already received or any type of thing that I've done quiet, because I don't want to skew any person's response or information that they're giving to me. Well, after we realized that there was no way that we could understand this writing, at least at this point, I asked if he could possibly connect with his guide and have his guide translate. I don't know, I've never tried it. So he did. It worked. Found out Zephyr was from what is now known, or what is now the southwestern United States, from over 20,000 years ago. Now, here again, here's a teenager, or a couple of teenagers actually, getting into this stuff, and neither one of us really knew enough about it to either trust or distrust. It was something that was just simply happening. So we just went with it. At the time, though, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be neat to go out to that area and live there for a while and find out what's going on? Well, that was in 1976, and in 1981 I finally got the opportunity. I'd been working 2 jobs and playing in a band, and all 3 fell through in a week. So I'm like, okay, where do I go? The first thing I heard was Phoenix. Had a couple of friends that moved out here the year before, called them up, made arrangements, came out. Little did I know what was in store, because not only did I find out more about Zephyr, or progress in my tutelage, so to speak, we also had some experiences that, quite frankly, scared my wife, because she didn't know how to handle it. One of them in particular, and these were just things, granted, that I just attempted to do, just to see if it was available. This particular instance, I had a friend that had passed away, actually had been killed in a motorcycle accident. And in that process, I didn't know if I would be able to communicate with him or not. I had several other experiences that led me to believe that it was possible. Now, in my own religious upbringing, I was raised in a very Christian-oriented environment. And so, in the methodology that I thought I was supposed to do, I questioned. I said, Jesus, to be your will be done. Can I talk to Steve? And I laid there in bed. This was like 2 o'clock in the morning. As far as I knew, my wife was already asleep. And she was pregnant for our 2nd child, and we had one already. So they were already asleep. And as I laid there, I was projecting out, telepathically, for lack of a better, Steve, are you out there? Steve, can you hear me? Nothing. Steve, are you out there? Can you hear me? Still nothing. Steve, are you out there? Man, can you hear me? Still nothing. I'm thinking, well, there's probably more than one Steve out there. His nickname was Blab. So I thought, okay. Hey, Blab! Man, are you out there? Can you hear me? I hear this. Bruce, is that you? Yeah, man, where you at? And all of a sudden, bing, right in the center of my vision, eyes closed, is his face. At the same instant,